Hey Sergio, we're doing some maintenance work inside one of our storage tanks, but we're confused on the safety procedure we need to follow because there's two different OSHA safety standards for confined spaces. What's the difference between the two of them? That's a great question, Joe. I think I'll make a video on that. Hi, I'm Sergio with Arthur and Hansen, and today we're talking about the differences of confined space standards between the construction and general industry. Since 1993, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or more famously known as OSHA, has enforced confined space standards and regulations for general industry. These standards have been mandating procedures and requirements for working in confined spaces in order to keep employees who enter them safe. Standards that protect our workforce? Count me in. However, there were concerns that the general industry standard did not sufficiently protect construction workers or workers performing construction activities inside confined spaces. Because of the complexity and continually evolving state of construction, OSHA created a new standard for confined spaces in construction. The new rule that went into effect in the fall of 2015 applies to all employers who perform construction activities. So this new standard may apply to your company, even if you're a manufacturing plant, for example. Because construction workers often operate in confined spaces, such as in manholes, crawl spaces, and sewers, they're at greater risk for exposure to potential hazards, such as electrical, engulfment, and atmospheric hazards. The new standard accounts for construction-specific characteristics and advancements in confined space entry technology and equipment. While there are many subtle differences in confined space standards between construction and general industry, we're going to focus on the 5 key elements that are specific to construction industry. The first element is coordination at multi-employer work sites. The new rule contains more detailed provision and for greater collaboration among various employers at the worksite. This may help by ensuring hazards are not introduced into a confined space by workers performing tasks outside of the space. For example, if one subcontractor on a multi-employer site must send an employee into a tank, they must communicate their entry to all other entities on the site. This could potentially prevent another employer from placing a generator, for example, near the tank opening, which can cause toxic fumes to accumulate inside the tank. The second element is that a competent person must evaluate the worksite and identify confined spaces, including any permit-required confined spaces. A competent person is an employee designated by the employer that is capable of identifying workplace hazards and has the authority to correct them immediately. The construction standard gives the responsibility to the competent person rather than the employer themselves. The third element calls for continuous atmospheric monitoring whenever possible. It is a best practice to continuously monitor the atmosphere inside a confined space to ensure that it is safe for entrance throughout the entire operation. However, it may not always be feasible. In those cases, the employer must document the reason why continuous monitoring is not feasible and show that periodic monitoring is adequate. The fourth element calls for continuous monitoring of engulfment hazard. Isolating an engulfment hazard will be the most effective way to protect the employee from the hazard, but it may not always be feasible. For example, water in a sewer system may not be isolated because the sewer is too large or is part of a continuous system. In that case, the engulfment hazard is considered non-isolated. The new construction standard requires continuous monitoring of non-isolated engulfment hazards by an early warning system. The system shall alert authorized entrants and attendants of a potential engulfment hazard in sufficient time for the authorized entrants to safely exit the space. And finally, the fifth element is that Cal OSHA allows permits to be suspended instead of canceled when conditions in the space change. They remain suspended until the space returns to the conditions specified on the permit. For example, if oxygen levels go below the acceptable level, the permit will be suspended until the oxygen levels rise to the conditions specified in the permit. Overall, the construction standard is more prescriptive than the general industry rule to ensure employees inside confined spaces are sufficiently protected, especially when it relates to construction. We hope you now have a better understanding of the differences between construction and general industry standards for confined spaces. If you need any help with complying to the standards that apply to your business, with your confined space program, or safety program as a whole, feel free to contact us using the information provided below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Let us know what topics you would like us to cover next in the comments down below. And follow us on all social media platforms to stay updated with all our safety tips and tricks. And until next time, be safe and thank you.